So tips for managing your time. All right, number one, you have many things to do. Make a to-do list. So let's combine those two sentences, and you can see already in the example, when you have many things to do, make a to-do list. And the adverb clause is when you have many things to do. So let's take a look at number two. I'm just going to read the answer. When you have a deadline, write it on your calendar. And the adverb clause is when you have a deadline. And then number three, don't let people interrupt you when you need to concentrate. So in this case, the when clause is at the end, and you can circle when you need to concentrate. Number four, when you want to focus on a task, turn off the television. Number five, when you feel tired, take a break. Oh, I forgot to mention, number four, the adverb clause is when you want to focus on a task. And number five, the adverb clause is you feel tired. Oh, when you feel tired. Number six, give yourself a reward when you finish something difficult. So the adverb clause is when you finish something difficult. Number seven, don't procrastinate when you have a deadline. So when you have a deadline is the adverb clause. Number eight, when you are tired, don't do difficult tasks. So the adverb clause is when you are tired. And number nine, prioritize tasks when you have many things to do. And the adverb clause is when you have many things to do. Okay, now I want you to look at the next page, page 73. And this is a partner activity, but of course you can just do it just on your own, or if you want, you can practice with your family members. Okay, so let's take a look at the example. When Mr. Jackson has a deadline, he doesn't answer the phone. And then letter B, Ms. Clark answers every call when she has a deadline. So in letter A, the when clause is in the beginning, and letter B, the when clause is at the end. And I want you to look at the chart, the list, and you can see. Okay, so there's actually a mistake in the book. There are some words in the gray box under the example. So you can see 6 words: expect, hope, intend, need, plan, and want. But those words actually don't belong in this exercise. They actually belong in Unit 5. So they belong on page 61, Unit 5, Exercise B. I think when they were copying this book, they accidentally copied that the gray box into the next unit. So this gray box right here, you can disregard it. It doesn't belong in this unit. So let's look back at the list under the pictures of Mr. Jackson and Ms. Clark. So the first column is what Mr. Jackson does, and then the second column is what Ms. Clark does when they have a deadline. Okay, so you can say, what does Mr. Jackson do when he has a deadline? Or what does Ms. Clark do when she has a deadline? So let's look at number 1. What does Mr. Jackson do when he has a deadline? So number 1 is already in the example, so we're going to skip to number 2. So we can use the when clause at the beginning, just like the example. We can say, when Mr. Jackson has a deadline, he closes his office door. Okay, but what about Ms. Clark? What does she do when she has a deadline? So you can say, Ms. Clark allows people to interrupt when she has a deadline. Okay, so this time the when clause is at the end, but as I mentioned before, either way is okay, but we're just using the example to practice. Okay, and then number 3, when Mr. Jackson has a deadline, he works on one task at a time. What about Ms. Clark? She works on several things at once when she has a deadline. Okay, So I'm going to give you some time to complete numbers 4 through 7, and just like the example, I want you to use the when clause in the beginning for Mr. Jackson and use the when clause at the end for Ms. Clark. Okay, so number 4. When Mr. Jackson has a deadline, he begins work immediately. Okay, and then Ms. Clark procrastinates when she has a deadline. Okay, number 5. When Mr. Jackson has a deadline, he does difficult tasks first. But Ms. Clark saves difficult tasks for last when she has a deadline. And number 6. When Mr. Jackson has a deadline, he doesn't check email. We can also say he doesn't check his email. But Ms. Clark checks email or checks her email frequently when she has a deadline. And then number 7, when Mr. Jackson has a deadline, he makes no personal phone calls. But Ms. Clark makes many personal phone calls when she has a deadline. So if you noticed, the last couple of sentences, I used the word but and connected the 2 sentences into one long sentence. So Mr. Jackson does this, but Ms. Clark does that when they have a deadline. Okay, so we are going to open our workbook to page 68. Page 68 in your workbook. Okay, so this is also lesson B, adverb clauses. So I want you to look at exercise 1 and match the sentence parts. After you do that, we are going to make questions. So go ahead and take some time to do that. Okay, so number 1, when I need to concentrate, I turn off the TV. So the answer is letter B. Number 2, when I feel tired, I take a break. And the answer is E. Number 3, when I have a deadline, I don't procrastinate. That's letter A. Number 4, when I don't understand a grammar question, I ask my teacher. Letter F. Number 5, when I don't understand a word, I use a dictionary. Letter C. And number 6, when I have many tasks to do, I make a to-do list. Letter D. Now, some of you might have changed or switched numbers 3 and 6, and that's okay. So you can also say, when I have a deadline, this is number 3, when I have a deadline, I make a to-do list. So that's okay too. Some people in the past, some of my students in the past told me that they used letter D for that sentence, and that's okay. And number 6, when I have many tasks to do, I don't procrastinate. That's also correct. So either one is fine for numbers 3 and 6. Now, as I mentioned, I want you to practice making questions, just like we did for Mr. Jackson and Ms. Clark in our students book. So this one's easy because the subject is all the same. It's just using I. So we have to use you for the questions. So for example, number 1, we could say, what do you do when you need to concentrate? What do you do when you need to concentrate? And of course, the answer is the same sentence. When I need to concentrate, I turn off the TV. Okay, so try numbers 2 through 6. Okay, so for number 2, you can say, what do you do when you feel tired? Number 3, what do you do when you have a deadline? Number 4, what do you do when you don't understand a grammar question? Number 5, when you don't understand a word, what do you do? So just like the statement, you can even put the when clause at the end for a question. Number 6, what do you do when you have many tasks to do? Okay, so let's take a look at exercise 2. Combine the sentences and use when. Okay, so I will give you some time to finish these sentences. All right? Okay, so number 1, Parvana has a lot of homework. She makes a to-do list of her tasks. The answer is, when Parvana has a lot of homework, she makes a to-do list of her tasks. Number 2, she wants to concentrate. She goes to the library. So we can say, when she wants to concentrate, she goes to the library. So from now on, I'm going to just say the answer. Number 3, she looks at the clock when she starts her work. Number 4, when she finishes a task, she checks it off her to-do list. Number 5, she takes a short break when she feels tired. Number 6, when she doesn't hand in her homework on time, her teacher is upset. Number 7, she eats a snack when she feels hungry. Number 8, when she needs to focus, she doesn't answer the phone. Number 9, she does the difficult tasks first when she has a lot of work to do. And number 10, when she has a deadline, she doesn't procrastinate. Okay, so I hope you got them all correct, and just keep in mind when you put the when clause at the front, then you need to pause and don't go down, but actually go up because you're not finished with the sentence. So for example, let's look at number 10 one more time. So instead of saying, when she has a deadline, she doesn't procrastinate, that sounds like 2 separate sentences. So you want to stay up after the when clause. So for example, when she has a deadline, she doesn't procrastinate. So you can see that after the when clause, I went up a little bit, paused, and then finished the sentence and go down. Okay, so let's take a look at exercise 3 on page 69. Read the sentences, add commas if necessary, and write no comma if you do not need a comma. Okay, so this one's pretty easy. So I'm just going to read each sentence, and as I read them, you can put a comma if it needs a comma, and if it doesn't need a comma, you can just put an X, or you can quickly write no comma. Okay, number 1, when I finish my homework, I take a break. So this sentence needs a comma after the when clause. So when I finish my homework, comma, I take a break. Number 2, Tan procrastinates when he doesn't want to do his homework. So this sentence does not need a comma. Number 3, Susanna uses a dictionary when she reads the newspaper. So same thing, this sentence does not need a comma. Number 4, when we don't hand in our homework, our teacher is very upset. This one needs a comma. So let's put a comma after the when clause. And number 5, when I have a deadline, I stay up late. So this one also needs a comma. And finally, number 6, Sushila doesn't like to work when she is tired. And this sentence does not need a comma because the when clause is at the end. Okay, moving on. Exercise 4. Write questions. And we already did this for the first exercise, so hopefully it's easy for you. Then write the answers. Okay, so let's take a look at number 1. What do you do when you finish a difficult task? Okay, so in the parentheses, you can see do and then finish a difficult task. So you're going to use those words or phrases to complete the question. Okay, and then the answer is I take a break. All right, so I'll give you a few minutes to go ahead and finish numbers 2 through 6. Okay, so let's look at number 2. So the question is, what do you do when you need to concentrate? What do you do when you need to concentrate? So the answer is I go to the library, but you can also practice including the when clause. Okay, so I go to the library when I need to concentrate. And then number 3, what do you do when you don't understand the homework? The answer is I ask my teacher when I don't understand the homework. Okay, number 4, what do you do when you have a quiz or test? I study my notes, or I study my notes when I have a quiz or test. Okay, and number 5, what do you do when you feel tired? When I feel tired, I rest, or I rest when I feel tired. So if you look at number 1 and number 5, you will notice that the answers are similar. So I take a break and I rest. Now sometimes I hear some students saying take a rest, but in American English we don't really say take a rest. We say take a break or just rest. I know maybe in British English some people say take a rest or have a rest. As you can see here, you can say take a break or rest. Okay, and then number 6, what do you do when you don't want to work? When I don't want to work, I procrastinate, even though I shouldn't. So you can say I procrastinate when I don't want to work. All right, what I want you to do for homework, you can send the answers to my email address, so you can email me. Or if you want, you can message me the answers in WhatsApp, but don't message the answers in the group chat because then everyone will have the answers. So you can message me separately, personally. But I want you to go back to exercise 2 on page 68 in your workbook, and I want you to make questions using the when clause. So for example, we can do number 1 together. The statement says, when Parvana has a lot of homework, she makes a to-do list of her tasks. So the question in this case is, what does Parvana do when she has a lot of homework? Or you can put the when clause in the beginning. It doesn't matter. You can say, when Parvana has a lot of homework, what does she do? Okay, so I want you to do numbers 2 through 10. Make a question using the when clause. That's the end of our lesson, so I will see you next time.